Hi, and welcome to another one of my 15-minute snappy chats where we're all about learning and growing in businesses. So I'm Christine Bell. I'm a customer strategist, and I've been working for myself for over 8 years. And the one thing I've learned is it can get really, really lonely when you're doing a business on your own. So building a network of like-minded people in business, it is so valuable and helpful because we all go through many of the same challenges, and sometimes we can feel really overwhelmed by some of those challenges. So to have a group of people that you know that you can rely on to be there for you if you need a chat, have a conversation, that is so valuable. And I highly recommend that you reach out to more small businesses owners that you connect with, that you like, and start building that relationship, because we can all learn and grow from each other. So this is what I'm really passionate about. So I'm really, really excited that today in our 15-minute conversation, I got the wonderful Katherine with me. She's an amazing sales coach. And whilst we're not going to be talking about sales specifically, we are going to be talking about the typical challenges that we all face in business, because we all have them. So with this in mind, Katherine is amazing at what she does. And Katherine, please tell us a little bit more about yourself. And thank you for being on here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you for that warm welcome. It's my pleasure to be here and to be speaking with your listeners and my listeners today. So Katherine Minett, I'm a sales success business coach, and I help female business owners to help them with their sales confidence so they can make sales and grow their business without feeling salesy. So that's basically what I do. I'm a sales trainer as well as a business coach. And people can find me on all the social media channels, including LinkedIn here, Facebook, and Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And I definitely think confidence is something, especially when it comes to sales. I know myself, I actually had training as well from a wonderful sales coach when I first started out in business, because I was just terrified of it. There was something in my mind, which in terms of, oh my God, am I good enough for this? Do people want to listen to me, etc.? But we may not be talking about this today, but I really, really love what you do, because we all need to find confidence when it comes to sales. It is one of the most important things, to build a business. So Absolutely. With this in mind, and you building your own business, what is one of the big challenges that you face personally in terms of growing your business?
Well, I think for me, transitioning from over 30 years in corporate sales, I was in a sales, account management, sales management training role for over 30 years in corporate, mainly in pharmaceutical, medical companies. And transitioning to be self-employed, that is a big change. Yes, and a lot of people will have experienced it. And I suppose the transition is challenging, because when you have a role in a company, and I was like a sales account manager or sales rep or a sales manager, I had a title, I had a job description, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do, and I had a team around me. There was the HR department, the finance department, a management team. There was the marketing department. So there's all this support automatically around you. And you can just pick up the phone when you've got an IT problem and someone will fix your computer. When you move to being self-employed, you're wearing all those hats. So I was still a salesperson, because every business owner needs to be a salesperson. So I was lucky in that skill and that area of my life is all covered. And although I'd studied marketing, and both with my degree, a business degree, but also, I've always had an interest in online marketing and been dabbling in it. Learning about it and then implementing and actually doing marketing for yourself in a business world is very challenging. So, and of course, today's world, we've got all this new technology. We've got platforms and Facebook and Google and LinkedIn and all these apps and things that can support us and help us with the business. But sometimes it can become very overwhelming. And it becomes also, sometimes the technology can be challenging for a lot of people. And that's a big thing I hear all the time. And so for me, moving from having all that support around me to now having to do everything myself, that was challenging. And what it caused was overwhelm in the beginning. There's it's so much to do to start a business from scratch. I wasn't buying into a franchise. I wasn't buying into a multi-level marketing, which had a product and had support. I, like many of your listeners, our listeners, are sole entrepreneurs where we're starting from scratches. We're coaches, or providing a service of sorts. And so I had to create the product. Whereas before I had the product, I had something. Now I've had to create the product from scratch. And that is my online training program, but also gain the skills as well. So I had to refresh all my skills in marketing and in sales and in training and coaching. And on top of that, I've had to learn all the new apps and skills and platforms and technology.
You know what? This is the thing. This is the big thing we don't realize, especially if we come from agency or corporate and we've had a job for a long time and we are, we're not 20 years old anymore. Yeah, we're a little bit older. What we don't realize is exactly what you say, upskilling, building a business when you're a one-man band. And it's not like I'm just, actually, when I first started, I was working with big companies, and I still do, but that was kind of like an extension of what I already did when I was an agency. But in the last 4 years, I've been building my own offer, like you, from scratch, which is all about co-creation and training for small businesses. And that didn't exist out there, and I'd never done it before either. So I, like you, have had to build it from scratch. And then comes all the things you say in terms of technology, in terms of finances, in terms of systems, in terms of sales, in terms of marketing, you name it. You have to upskill if you're on your own. And it is exactly what you say. It is very overwhelming at times. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing what to do first. There's no set out plan of you need to do this. You need to go out and learn and learn from other people. So, I started networking, got myself a coach, 2 coaches. Actually, I now have a coach for coaching. And I also have a marketing coach as well that helps with my marketing strategies. And getting that help and that support and surrounding myself with people who were already doing or had already done or were doing what I was doing was really helpful, because I didn't feel, like you said, alone. So I was feeling alone at first, but once I got myself out there from behind the computer, then it made it easier. I think
sometimes you can't afford all the things, so you're gonna have to learn some things. And I think key thing is a growth mindset. You have to develop a mindset that allows you to fall down, because we're not going to be perfect at all the new skills. So we've got to allow ourselves to be okay with not being perfect, and not knowing everything, and still moving forward in terms of learning and growing.
Yeah. One of the first things I actually signed up for as a course was to learn how to do messaging and using video. Now, in my role in sales previously, I'd never had to get on video and do sell to people on social media. That was all new. I didn't know how to do that. I know how to sell, but not on the camera. And so I got training on how to write the scripts, how to create the video, edit the video, upload it. It all took a lot of learning. I mean, I can do it now because that was a couple of years ago. So, and I also wrote, this is a tip for people, is as I was learning new skills and doing things, I wrote SOPs. Strategic operating procedures, or standard operating procedures. People call them different things, but it's basically a procedure of the process that I needed to do to be able to upload and create a video and put it out there on Facebook. So I wrote down every step, and I've got a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet with all my SOPs, which is really handy because I might spend a few months creating videos and then I might stop and move on to another project. And then when I go back, because I need to create more videos, I would have forgotten how to do it.
I know that feeling where you go, how do I do this again?
I've forgotten. I know I could do it, but I've forgotten. So I would then pull up my Excel spreadsheet and read through my notes. And hopefully I wrote them in such a way I could remember. So realizing the benefit of that now, whenever I'm doing something new, I always write an SOP. So I've got this spreadsheet.
I love that. Is a great tip for everyone to take note of, because I'm in that situation as well. I do something, I learn it, then I don't touch it for months, and then I come back and I'm like feeling like I have to relearn. How did I do this again? And I will say as well, one thing that's really important I've found in myself is this learning to be more gentle with myself, be kinder to myself, recognizing that learning new skills at any age, but especially when you go older, it takes time. And we need to allow ourselves the time and the permission to make mistakes. So like when I started doing webinars, I was terrified. I was okay in front of people in person because at least I couldn't connect with people. So I was doing talks at WeWork and doing classes in person in Sydney before the lockdowns. And then with the lockdowns, I suddenly had to go to webinar and I was terrified.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? It took me a good year to learn how to do it well. I do them really well now. My classes, I love them now. I'm comfortable. It's interactive. But that took me a good year. And sometimes no one showed up. And sometimes the whole thing crashed with people there. One time I forgot to even put on the actual presentation. Yeah. So you got to allow yourself these mistakes and you got to be okay to forgive yourself. What do you think about that?
I agree. And my coaches, both my coaches have said the same thing. 70% good enough is good enough. Like, you don't have to be perfect. And people don't always want you to be perfect anyway. You need to come across as being yourself. You've got to be come across as being
authenticity.
Natural, authentic. Exactly. You don't want everything to be scripted. Otherwise it looks robotic and it's not you. So I remember the first time I was on a podcast. I started podcasting at the beginning of this year. I went, that's one of my strategies. Yeah. Started in January. First podcast, I did write out the answers and I tried to read the answer and it just didn't work. No. So that I just scrapped that idea. But now I've been doing podcasts and chats, live chats like this for a while. I don't script anything.
No, it's all been impromptu. We have not scripted anything. We just said, hey, what are we going to do? We said, mention a challenge and let's talk. Yeah, and it's impromptu and it takes a bit of confidence and it's okay to not have it at the beginning. You know, I also started these live linked Snappy chats in January and it was just a thought one day and it felt good. I'm like, I'm going to try and do it. Terrified. But let's just do it, yeah? And like you with podcasting, sometimes we just got to give ourselves permissions to jump into it, try it out, and know that we're not going to be perfect, but we will learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know sometimes people ask in podcasts, they'll say, what's your quote? What's your favorite quote at the end? And I say, well, my quote is a bit of a spin on a very common one, the Nike, you know, just do it. But my spin on that is just get started. Yeah. Just get started. Because when you are starting something new and you don't know what you're doing, I mean, you try and get the support and the learning and you read up about it, but then you've just got to implement what you're learning. Just get started. It's like, because then the momentum starts and then you learn, you fall down, doesn't work, and then you learn and then you keep going. And so it's a bit like driving a car. You can't move the car or change direction unless you've already got that momentum and the wheels are already turning. So I always say to people, my clients, you know, if they want to start doing Facebook Lives for the first time or a video out on a social or podcasting or whatever it is they want to do and they've never done it before, I go, just get started. Yeah. Do a course, get some training, get a coach, but then just get started and implement. Because as you start doing it, the momentum picks up and you get better and better at it. And maybe you've heard, Christine, about the learning ladder. I talk about this with my clients. The learning ladder, where you're unconsciously incompetent at the beginning. You don't even know what you don't know. Yeah. But as you start moving, you get started, you start learning what you don't know. So then you're conscious.
And then you might get a little bit fearful, but at least you know what you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, this isn't good enough. It's not perfect. And then you keep going. And then you become consciously competent, where you can do the thing, but you have to think. It takes a lot of effort and takes longer, but you do get there. And it may not be perfect still. But eventually, over time and practice and repetition and keep going, you become unconsciously competent, where you can just do something without thinking about it. So whatever skill you're learning, you will go through that those 4 stages.
That is so true. And the really important here is we all go through this. Most of us who are in business on our own and building a business from scratch, we are all on this learning curve, possibly in different areas, depending on our own skills and our own superpowers, but we're all on the same journey. So we're not alone. And the one thing I've learned, especially on LinkedIn, I must say, I did my first video on LinkedIn in July, the second video in July 2022. And I was so nervous. I had the whole thing. I was reading it all out. I edited the whole thing before I put it out there. And I was so nervous. And I thought, well, I'm just going to put it out there. And I actually started the post with hello. That's all I said. And then people had to go. I ended up having 23,000 people watch my first video. Yeah.
Wow.
when you put a sentence, your first sentence intrigues people, like hello or asking questions, they will start watching, they will start listening and figuring out more. So that's the trick, by the way, in terms of getting people this attention.
Yeah.
You know, make it a really intriguing. The first word or two must be really intriguing to people. But besides that, what I really want to say is I had so much support. I did not have anyone taking me down, saying you could do better. Oh my God, that's terrible. Anything. All I had is, well done, good on you, here for you, excited that you're doing this. Yeah. And it was so, I find especially LinkedIn, it's incredibly supportive if you're open to it.
Yes. That's good. I think, LinkedIn is a good place to be, to help build relationships, professional relationships, and to help build a business, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So wonderful. We're coming at 15 minutes. Are there any, before I will make sure that you tell people where they can reach you and what you've got coming up, are there any last words you want to share with people before you finish? Because you've already given so many great tips and gold nuggets out.
Yeah, I think the main thing is to have a very clear goal and a purpose, a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And with your goal, have your strategy set out of how you're going to achieve that goal. So you're basically building out a strategic plan for your business and for your sales, for your marketing, and follow the plan. And it can change and tweak, but get started on it, start moving forward, and then adapt it as you go. But without a plan, I'm just going to be floundering and overwhelmed. So once I got my plan together, that was when I got clearer and I was able to start moving forward with my business.
I love that. And that's, like you said, it's so important that we get started and start moving forward. So I love that advice. Thank you so much. So how can people reach you? And do you have any events or anything coming up that people can find out more about and perhaps even attend?
Yes, absolutely. I run Sales Masterclass. It's on Zoom. It's live. You get to see me in action, and it's purely sales training. You get to know about me, about sales, what you need to know, and how I teach it. And there's no sales pitch on it. It's purely sales training. It runs for about 60 minutes, and I'm running one on Thursday next week, so the 19th of October, and that is at 12 noon Queensland time. So what's that?
1 p.m. in Sydney.
In Sydney and Victoria. But that's a live class. So you can go to minetsalesacademy.com/sales masterclass and register for that event. And when you register, you also get some additional free training as well sent to your inbox. So
I love that. And maybe you can, go into my profile and put it in the comments as well so people can find it.
Absolutely. I'll do that as soon as we finish up. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate our chat. It was really fun and really engaging and really energetic, which I love. So thank you so much for all your wonderful gold nuggets. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for having me. And doesn't 15 minutes go fast when you're having fun?